Oh boy, dude. Top 10 things that I did not think would be talked about in this year's NHL offseason. Starting out with the Toronto Maple Leafs. We know that they've been a team that has been struggling to get out of the first round for decades now. Okay, maybe not multiple decades, but a decade and a bit. It's been a long time since the Maple Leafs had won a playoff series, and that entire process of them clawing and trying to get back in there, 2013, the collapse to Boston, the dire years where the team was bad at the bottom of the league. When the Matthews era started, there was Washington, Boston, and then Boston, Columbus in there too, Montreal. This team had such a difficult time breaking out of the first round. But for the first time in almost 20 years, the team ended up finally exercising their demons and making a second-round appearance. It happened this previous playoff run against the Tampa Bay Lightning. You saw the John Tavares overtime winner, which sent the Leafs to the second round for the first time in almost 20 years. And everybody was freaking out. Hey, Toronto finally did it. They won. They won a series. This is amazing. And then they collapsed against Florida. The Toronto Maple Leafs had finally exercised their demons, but they hadn't exercised them all the way. This is part 2, baby. The sequel is in here. You know there's a new Exorcist movie coming out? This new story is exactly that. The Toronto Maple Leafs finally won a first-round series, but they have a lot of work to do before they win a Stanley Cup. However, when it comes to the Toronto Maple Leafs and the hype surrounding their playoff win, you have one defenseman on the opposing team, Mikhail Sergachev of the Lightning, who had himself an interview yesterday pretty much roasting the hell out of the Maple Leafs, and this is hilarious. We're going over onto an article on sport24.ru. It's apparent that they had themselves an entire feature done on Sergachev because there were a few articles actually published of his interviews over the past little while here. It's all from yesterday, but the article we're taking a look at, I'm going to translate this from Russian into English, and we're going to leave a link in the description if you want to go ahead and read the entire piece yourself. Sergachev says this in the title of the article: "I don't want to put any pluses on Toronto right now. They didn't deserve them." Okay, that's a quote. That's a really intriguing quote, talking about how Sergachev is not going to give any pluses to the Toronto Maple Leafs, how they don't deserve any of the praise. Where exactly is this going to go? Well, our writer here, Daria Tubolseva, goes out there and gives us the scoop. Two-time Stanley Cup champion Mikhail Sergachev, in an interview with Sport24 author Daria Tubolseva, spoke about the defeat from Toronto in the Stanley Cup playoffs. 3 months have passed since the departure from Toronto. In what and when did you lose this series? In overtime, Sergachev says. One game should not have been brought to overtime at all when they were leading 4-1. We haven't been able to win the last 12 overtimes. We can't win. We need to break these bad stereotypes about us in the playoffs and start winning. But in general, there is no one why. There are many factors. Statistically, we played better than Toronto in this playoff run, but we lost. We played worse last year, but we won. And you know, I'm not necessarily going to disagree with that. I've been saying this the entire time since 2022, but I really do feel like Toronto played the better series in that first round matchup, and they could have ended up winning. They just ended up not. It's not like they choked against Montreal or Columbus, or they utterly got embarrassed like they had been in the past. No, in 2022, the Leafs just lost because at the end of the day, sometimes hockey is a coin flip, and they just ended up on the wrong side of that. This previous season, though, in 2023, they ended up winning. You could say that Tampa played better. That's what Sergachev is going out there and saying. They ask here further, the series was quite tough. You lost Eric Chernak and Victor Hedman missed one game. Did these losses hit you hard? Sergachev says, I don't want to put any pluses on Toronto now. They didn't deserve them. Any playoff series is tough. The fact that someone flew out is a coincidence. He put his shoulder wrong and he fell unsuccessfully. So, Sergachev is essentially saying that the loss is to the players that they had. It's not going to dictate whatever happens in the series. Injuries are injuries, it's all coincidence. Every playoff series is tough. But then, they ask him this: why don't you want to give Toronto any credit? Well, why? I don't think they deserve much. For the first time in 19 years, though, they passed the first round. Sergachev says this: well done. They got past the first round, but they didn't go any further. So I don't see any reason to celebrate. And you know, that's a pretty tough comment. It is, and I think a lot of people might actually go out there and get upset that he said this, but at the end of the day, I mean, look, Mikhail Sergachev is part of a Stanley Cup championship team that won 2 Stanley Cups. He made the finals 3 times in a row, And was he a part of that team when they went to the finals in 2015? No, he was drafted the next year. No, so he wasn't a part of that team. But still, Mikhail Sergachev goes out there and says, yeah, there's no reason for y'all to celebrate. You'd won one round, and you didn't go any further than that. I guess from his perspective, it's totally understandable to see where he's coming from. He has won so many playoff series. He was a part of a team in Tampa that won, 4 series when they went to the finals against Dallas, another 4 series when they went to the finals against Montreal, and then 3 more series on top of that in order to face the Avalanche in the finals and inevitably lose. Tampa Bay won 11 straight playoff series. So if there's anybody going out there and saying that one playoff series win isn't really that big of a deal, I guess anybody from that team makes sense to go out there and say it. But still, the court of public opinion, man, you gotta go over the history, you gotta talk about the Leafs, and you gotta talk about the Leafs fans and what they've gone through. We all saw the celebrations. We want Florida. Clap, 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 clap. Everybody was in the streets in Toronto. Everybody was going out there freaking out in Toronto because, hey, their Maple Leafs just finally, for the first time in almost 2 decades, won a series. They won a series. And I saw some Leafs fans going out there and, we saw them all celebrating. But I did see some other Leafs fans kind of getting a bit embarrassed about it. Even in the replies to all of this stuff with Sergachev, I did see some people saying, yeah, this is kind of why I was sort of embarrassed when the Leafs fans were going out there and celebrating a 1 series win as if they won the cup. Everybody was flooding the streets, they were celebrating, lighting fireworks on the road. That's kind of wild when you think about it. It's just 1 series. Sure, there is an extraordinary body of work that the Maple Leafs have not been able to accomplish over the past 20 years. No second-round appearance, despite all the talent, despite the Kessels, the Phaneufs, the Kadris, the Matthewses, and the Marners. They only won 1 playoff series in 2023. That's kind of wild. And you could understand that because there's been a lack of success, any sort of success is seen as a huge plus. But in a vacuum, a first-round win is a first-round win. You have literally 8 first-round winners in every single year's worth of NHL hockey, so what's the big deal? Sergachev's going out there saying, yeah, there's no reason to celebrate. Y'all won a series and you lost. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about Mikhail Sergachev and the blunt, harsh comments that he went out there and roasted on the Toronto Maple Leafs? Do you agree with Sergachev? Do you disagree? Do you think he should stay in his own lane? Do you think he shouldn't have made these comments about Toronto? I, for one, love it because it makes for dramatic content in the offseason, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about Mikhail Sergachev, Tampa Bay Lightning defenseman, who, from the perspective of someone who had won 11 straight playoff series, including 2 Stanley Cups in that span, said that the Toronto Maple Leafs don't really deserve much of the credit? I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.